I'm Justin Mott, and welcome to my home here in Hanoi, Vietnam. If you're new here, my channel is dedicated to all things photography from the perspective of a working professional photographer. And today I'm going to do a full assignment breakdown. This is a little series that I like to do, and you guys have been giving me great feedback about it, so I want to do it more. This is where I break down a recent pro shoot for you guys. I tell you what gear I used and why, give you some insight in how the shoot unfolds, some challenges I faced, give you some tips along the way, show you the pictures that I made during the shoot, and then end with my 5 favorite pictures. So before I get into it, today's episode is brought to you by my online store, askmott.com, which I spent the last several weeks updating this website with new workshops, new online classes, a bunch of new photography tips, blogs, and a lot more. Go to askmott.com, sign up for the newsletter, and be part of our little photography community. So this assignment was from a company in the US called Restoration Hardware. They also go by RH, so I'll be calling them RH for the rest of this episode. The assignment was a one-day shoot in Indonesia, but it took about a full day to get there. It's a commercial photography shoot. It was highlighting one of the companies that works for them that does foam inserts. Doesn't sound that sexy, but I'm rather interested in furniture. I like this kind of stuff. And so I was off to Indonesia to visit a foam factory. The way a shoot like this typically unfolds for a commercial shoot, you might have a couple weeks, you might have a couple meetings. With this company, things work rather fast and rather last minute. So I got the assignment a couple days before, had to visit the factory where they make the foam. My hero shot was going to be a portrait of the owner of the company. His name was Victor. And then I also needed some supporting shots of the machinery, the process, some detail shots as well, just to put together a nice little spread for them for online and then for their catalogs as well. And so for gear on the shoot, I went with my Leica SL2-S, my Leica 35mm M Summilux lens, my 50 Summilux lens, my Voigtlander 75. I like using prime lenses for these shoots, especially when things aren't happening fast and I can use manual focus. Something like this, I'm not going to need autofocus, but just in case I do, I also bring my Leica L series 24 to 90 lens. That covers me in case things are happening really fast or in case I need autofocus, or God forbid, if something went wrong with one of my prime lenses, I'm covered for that focal length. Some of my commercial shoots, I'm traveling with my entire team. A shoot like this, I'd be hiring a local fixer for translation and a local lighting team on the ground, just because taking gear into Indonesia can be quite complicated. It was a full day of travel because from Hanoi to the location, I had to fly to Ho Chi Minh City, then fly to Jakarta. Then I had to take a domestic flight in Indonesia, and then it was about a 3-hour drive to a hotel that was near the factory. And so, yeah, always bill for a travel day, because even if it's someone say like, oh, it's only a 2-hour flight or it's a short flight away, it always takes a full day. I mean, I left my house at like 5 a.m. I didn't get to my hotel like 11 o'clock at night. And so then the next morning I was meeting the subject and I spent a full day shooting there again, trying to get about a 5-picture story, which includes portraits, details, and overall shots of the factory process. What I like to do in these situations is I'll go in, I'll do a quick meet and greet with the subject, try to put them at ease, try to tell them, try to explain what I'm looking for and why. They were very accommodating. And so I'll do a walkthrough. I don't like to spend too much time talking without seeing, is kind of my thing. So if we're going to talk or people are going to talk, I like to look around. I want the majority of my time while I'm on a shoot like this, while someone's paying me a good amount of money to fly somewhere else, I want to maximize my time looking at things, observing, and then shooting. Because for my shots, it's not 100% natural for a shoot like this. Now, if I was doing something like this for the New York Times, sure, I'm just going to go in and shoot it naturally. No setting things up, no change that, move that, no you talk to them. I just shoot it naturally. That's what I did for a long time throughout my career. When I do commercial work, it's a mix of that. And that's why people hire me. My style is quite different and quite suited for this type of work. And luckily for me, a lot of big companies now want authentic images. They want them polished, but they want authentic images. And that's what I specialize. After we do a quick walkthrough, I look around. I saw some area where they do foam recycling. I thought, oh, that looked good. I knew I had to do portraits as well of the subject. So in the back of my head, I'm looking for good locations. They're going to add context to the story, so giant blocks of foam in the background. I want everything to be accurate as well. So if I'm going to make any changes to a scene, I'm going to ask, like, is that something they might normally do? Is that safe to stand there? All that stuff's very important. And asking those questions actually is good that I have my journalism background, because that's something that I always had to do. And so it was interesting. I had a brief for this assignment with some must-have shots, and now a lot of clients are doing this. The first time it happened, it was kind of weird, but they're using these like AI mock-up images, which is awesome in some ways because if you really need to mimic something exactly, it's kind of cool, but it's also kind of confusing. When someone showed me that for the first time, like, well, why do you need that picture? Don't you already have it? Like, no, this is AI. In some ways, it's a bit of a bummer because it can suck the creativity out of you as a photographer. So I hope this is kind of always kept in check with art directors and photographers, giving them some leeway to be able to get shots that maybe AI can't get or AI didn't think of or that you didn't think of. And I think that's what I do well. So it's okay. I'm getting paid. It's a commercial shoot. So finding that balance is one hero shot that sort of had that exact look that I needed to match. And so, yeah, first half of the day, wandered the factory. When I see a scene I like, I'll just sort of polish it. I'll say, okay, this is good, but let's have this person there, that person there. Maybe you just slide over a little bit, and then I'll just work the scene. And I'll add lights if I need to, but very subtle. Again, we don't want this to look like an ad campaign so much. Some cool shots of the foam, just this massive foam area where they're like doing the recycling of the foam. That was fun to shoot. I'm getting up, I'm getting low, I'm jumping in the foam pit with them. We had a good time in that scene. And then when we broke for lunch, I saw some nice light outside. I thought it'd be good to have some details of the foam, so we ran some water over it. That was in the reference shot, so I poured some water over the foam. That was good that I had the 24 to 90 with autofocus because I need to shoot that rather fast and then worry about it later, just getting the water bouncing off the foam in the right way. Then the second half of the day, this is also how I like to work as well. If I have portraits to do on my list, I like to do that the second half of the day because I've seen the entire place. I've seen what's working for light. I've seen different backgrounds. Yeah, of course I saw that in scouting, but as I start to shoot more, I say, oh, this works well, but if I put the CEO in this area, like the foam area, that could look cool. And if I'm up top looking down, I light him from the side, that could also work. So it's basically like the way I'm working is like I'm wandering around my camera, everyone's just huddled behind me, following me around, and then I'm looking, I'm observing. When I'm ready, then I start calling people in. Okay, let's get you there, let's get the subject in there, let's get the lighting in there, let's move that in the background. And so we did some portraits, some were a little loose, some a little bit tighter, some were a little safe, some were a little more fun. I like to give a nice mix to my clients. We also needed to do sort of this studio shot, and there was some miscommunication about that shot. I won't go into that during the shoot, but this kind of stuff happens on shoots. Again, especially shoots that are planned last minute like this, things can happen. But what you have to do is you have to suck it up, you have to adapt and overcome. So they had a studio in the factory, which I didn't know about. And then I needed to get a studio shot of the CEO pouring like water through some of his foam, which means we had to source. I'm not going to go deep into it, but it was a mess. But I had to use their strobes, which didn't work with my Leica. So I had to go rent some Canon stuff. And the Canon store out in the middle of nowhere, let's just say not wonderful. Really old equipment. I knew how to use it, but really old equipment. That was a bit of a mess, but we're able to do it. So the second half of the day, got my portraits, got a nice mix of all the other shots I needed. Basically, go back to my hotel, send the images quickly because they needed it to rush out for this catalog rather quickly. Oftentimes, commercial shoots don't work like this. I'll be able to come back to my office. If I'm toning the images, we might send them out to a retoucher if it requires heavy retouching. For a shoot like this, since they needed it quickly, I'll upload low-res, lightly toned versions, just color corrected, and then I'll make a mirrored folder of all those RAWs, so once they pick the shots they want, they can just reference that number, download the RAWs, and they have an in-house retoucher, and they'll do it all themselves. I'll also, when I'm done, we'll get back to Hanoi, and we'll mail them a hard drive of the entire take, so they have it for their archive. But yeah, these shoots are fun. They're interesting. It's basically like a rushed commercial shoot. I'm sort of figuring out how they like to work, and they work quickly, and that's fine by me again because that's my background and how I've worked. But I'm not shooting like the New York Times. Things have to be polished, so I need to light things properly. Composition needs to be a little bit cleaner, which is good and bad because I can set things up how I want them to be, but at the same time, there's a lot more pressure on a shoot like this, and you make a lot more money on a shoot like this than you would for an editorial assignment. So that was it. Flew back to Hanoi, rushed right into my holiday. These are my 5 favorite images from the day. If I had to tell the story in 5 images, this is what it'll be. These are my favorite. I don't know which ones they've chosen because I haven't seen it yet, but these are my 5 favorite images from the day. Again, all shot with the SL2-S. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. These are like a fun little way to do these. If you have a way that I can improve these, I'd love to hear it because I think my channel is quite unique in that I can show pictures from real photo assignments, editorial and commercial work, and share them with you guys and give you guys some insight into the life of a professional photographer because I love doing this, but my real job is really out there shooting. So any advice you guys have on how to make these better, probably shorter is going to be your better advice. So that's all for today, guys. Don't forget to check out my online store. I really have done a huge update on my website. So I've got my March 2025 workshop here in Hanoi. We're going to be taking amazing pictures, giving you guys access to things that are very hard to get access to. We're staying in beautiful hotels, and you're going to have one-on-one coaching from me on that workshop. Can't make it all the way to Hanoi? Check out my online virtual coaching options. I've got 1 hour, I've got several bundle packages. I've also got my mentorship package for anyone that wants to do a deep dive, have full access to me, and we work month to month on helping you find a project, execute that project, and just overall helping you with your photography. Thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and don't forget to have a wonderful day.